In today's show, Regina shows you how to cut corners without compromising taste with her version of the Greek classic Dolmades. Guest chef Rick Boyer gets inventive with bread pudding and takes it out of the dessert category. Regina explores the world of meat substitutes and prepares a warm and soothing tea in today's healthful libation.
In today's program, we're going to take a look at ways in which we can cut corners on a classic dish and not compromise the outcome. We're going to be making the Greek classic Dolmades, or stuffed grape leaves. In this case, we're going to be using a rice stuffing, although traditionally, minced lamb is often added to this recipe, and we'll talk about options for adding faux meats a little bit later on in this segment. But first of all, we're going to start out with the rice, and you can use pretty much any kind of rice you have on hand, from an arborio to a long grain rice. And here we have a short grain rice, and we've taken the liberty to go ahead and cook it in a little bit of broth with just a pinch of salt and some sun-dried tomatoes. And the sun-dried tomatoes really bump up the flavor. So let's start out by, our rice has cooled off a little bit, and it's just a cup of rice. And then we must have the Kalamata olives. I really like the flavor. And again, you have to keep in mind along the way that you have a number of ingredients that have salt in the base. And we're going to use chives, although if you don't have access to chives, you can also use green onions or scallions. We'll put these in, and a little bit of garlic, one of the ways in which we're cutting corners. And I don't often do this, but in this kind of dish where it's all melding together, so many flavors, I'm using a pre-minced garlic. And we're going to add a little bit of balsamic, freshly chopped parsley. Again, don't worry about amounts, you can always check it out on the website. And some coarsely ground black pepper. I like to put a fair amount of pepper in this one. And then we'll go ahead and add the lemon juice to it now. Now, one other little hint you need to be made aware of is these grape leaves have already been soaked in brine. They're bottled in liquid that's extremely salty. So you need to soak them for about a half an hour where you're preparing these other ingredients while the rice is cooking. Go ahead and just take the grape leaves out of the jar and put them in a bowl of fresh water. And then pat them dry as you're using them. And we're going to place a spoonful here. It's very much like, it's like rolling up a wonton or anything else, really. Take a spoonful of the rice mixture in the center, and here we go. And we'll roll the sides in, and you just roll it up in a little packet. There you go. And I like to refrigerate them for just an hour or two, let all the flavors come together, and we'll arrange these on a plate in just a little bit. And let the flavors meld a little bit before serving. Now, what you're also going to find in here, which I had already taken off on the first leaf, is you'll find this chewy, tough little stem. Go ahead and clip that off before you get going on it. And we'll roll a few up. And you can roll them however, as long as you get there. And as I finish rolling these, we're going to take a little field trip to the health food store where we're going to take a look at some of the faux meats, I call them faux meats, available on the market, just in case you'd like to make this with a little bit of the classic flavors of either lamb or beef. So let's see what's out there. What I'm learning from my email from viewers is that an awful lot of you are in transition, trying to go from a heavier meat-based diet into one that has more fresh produce in it. But the problem becomes, how do you get those old flavors and textures from your previous diet? i.e. like Aunt Edna's stew that always required a little bit of ham hock or bacon in it. Well, one way you can do it is with the use of imitation meats. Now, this is a flavor that is very popular in the United States in all sorts of cuisine, and that's the flavor of bacon. These products, here we're looking at a bulk product called bacons, see, no meat here, are soy-based. So there's soy and a lot of different flavorings in it. Some have a little more hickory salt than others, but if you need bacon, there are plenty of options, lots of labels out there, even at your supermarket, that have no meat in them to spice up your dish with a little down-home flavor. One of the other popular meat substitutes is called TVP. Now, it's not a very romantic name. What it stands for is texturized vegetable protein, and basically, again, you're talking about soy, and most of these, they're soy-based. Now, this particular one doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. It pretty much absorbs anything you pair it with. Some will say either chicken flavored or beef flavored, but you'll see that this particular texture here fluffs up to something around the range of a ground meat. So not only can you use it on your own, but if you're trying to lighten up a little bit, you can even take your ground meat in a recipe and use this as an extender, so you're getting less fat and less animal protein. Now this one has an entirely different texture. As you can see, these are made to emulate little pieces of beef, which you might use, for example, in a soup or in a stew, or even in a chili, and oftentimes these will have a beef flavor as well. In the refrigerated section, you find a whole different array of imitation meats, and actually I don't think it's even fair to say that, because some of them are simply called tofu patties now. You don't have to say imitation meat anymore. But you have everything from chicken and turkey to make sandwiches with. Again, these are all mostly soy-based. Now, for cooking, again, we're looking at some of the soy-based substitutes. Now, another really good way to go is to use some of the baked tofu's. These baked tofu's are the firm style. You can take them in a dish and you don't need to add moisture to it. You just crumble it up toward the finish of a dish to give it some bulk, some protein, and really quite a lot of flavor, especially the marinated ones like I just showed you here. Now, another way to go is what's called seitan, which they call that, actually it's nicknamed wheat meat. It's a wheat gluten-based product here that's made to taste like beef, and when you chew on it, it has a lot of that same chewy kind of texture that meats have. Now, if you're looking for some down-home food, you can even find tofu hot dogs and hamburgers, and now even chicken-free patties. These little chicken patties taste remarkably like a real thing, even though they are made of soy protein. So whether or not you're looking to spice up a little bit of your favorite Aunt Edna's soup or have a chicken sandwich for lunch, there are all sorts of imitation meats available today to satisfy those cravings of childhood. And the Dolmades are ready to serve. And what's wonderful about this is sitting around on a Saturday morning with friends or family and rolling them together and enjoying them together. But if you're going to save some, just be sure to put them in an airtight container and they'll stay in the refrigerator for a number of days. Oop, our bee is back. In today's healthful libation, we're going to be making a warm concoction that relies on an ancient healing tea from Japan and peppermint. So it's really good for digestion, extremely comforting, and we're going to be adding a little twist to it with the use of almond milk. We'll start out with this tea, and let me bring it over here so you can take a look at it. This is pu'er. Pu'er is a tea that is most commonly used as a medicinal in Japanese culture, and it's a green tea that has been fermented. And these cakes have been dried for years. They have them wrapped up like this. And if you're able to find them, and you can certainly find them online, you may be able to find them at gourmet stores. Now, one of these cakes of dried pu'er, fermented pu'er, lasts a couple of years. I've already had this about a year and a half, and you can see I'm about halfway through with it. And it's really thought to boost the immune system, and I think has a wonderful flavor. It's my favorite of all the green teas. So we're going to put it in this little Japanese teapot. And if you have one, you're aware that they have a built-in strainer, so you don't have to deal with all of that later on. Just about, a teaspoon of it, and that will actually make a good potful. And in this recipe, you can use loose leaves, or you can also make it easy on yourself and go with tea bags. Here we have green tea in the bag. We also have peppermint tea in the bag. So we'll go ahead and do a combination here and just toss this peppermint tea in with the pu'er, and we're going to make a fairly strong brew because we'll be diluting it out in just a little bit with almond milk. It'll take a couple minutes for it to steep. Okay, our peppermint and fermented green tea is ready, and we're going to fill the cup half full of the tea and put in a spoonful of honey to your taste. And finally, we'll be finishing it off with a little bit of almond milk. And I know it may sound like a strange combination to you, but you really have to try this. If you like any of these ingredients, just give it a shot. It's one of the most soothing drinks I've ever had. So let's go ahead and top it off with a little almond milk. You can also use soy milk if you like, or rice. I would not recommend using dairy in this. It's just a much cleaner flavor without the dairy. And to a chilly winter evening. And we're here with our guest chef of the day, Rick Boyer of Wright's, which is in the Arizona Biltmore. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I love this. You're going to be making an upscale comfort food. We just did a little cup of comfort tea, and we're having a bread pudding with, my God, some beautiful ingredients.
That's right. You know, it's a perfect time of season right now for wild mushrooms. There's a lot of product available, and I'm looking forward to tasting the bread pudding.
Yeah, I am too. And so, do you want to get started on the custard first?
Yes, let's start the custard first.
Alrighty. Let's get this stuff over here for you.
Okay. First, we're going to start by making the custard. We're going to pour the half and half into the bowl with 2 eggs. Normally, a traditional custard will take 8 eggs to a quart.
And how are you getting away with just a couple of eggs in this one?
Because we're only using 2 cups of...
okay, we're just making a smaller portion.
We're just making a smaller portion.
Okay, good, and that's all.
So
Do you want this on
We'll put that
low,
on
or-
there and get that going.
Tell me what speed you'd like it.
We'll put it on low.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's take off the top, and then we're gonna add a little bit of roasted garlic. About 2 tablespoons. I love garlic.
Oh, yeah.
Then we're gonna pour the custard over the croissants.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is not, I like using croissants. It makes the fluffiest, most wonderful bread.
Yes, they really do. Pour that over there, and then we're just gonna let that sit for about 10 minutes.
Okay, and
Just
soak
so that
it all in.
Just so that the bread will absorb the liquid. We're also gonna add a little bit of sliced shallots.
Okay, let's set this aside. What happens next now?
Okay, meanwhile, while the croissants are absorbing the liquid, we're gonna start the sauce with a little bit of fennel juice.
Okay, stop for a minute. Let's talk
Okay.
about the fennel juice. This is not a commonly used ingredient.
No, it's certainly not. You know, Regina, in my kitchen, I have a commercial juicer to juice the fennel.
Right.
But at home, if you don't have a juicer, you can just use a blender with a little bit of filtered water.
That's true.
Puree the fennel and then strain it.
strain it.
Through a
I love
filter.
it. I love
it's perfect.
it.
It's
That's
perfect.
That's what we wanted, a shortcut so that
So-
anybody can do it.
So what we're gonna do with the juice is we're gonna add it to a saucepan,
Okay.
and we're just gonna let that simmer real nice for a little while.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we're gonna take a little bit of olive oil and we're gonna start sauteing our mushrooms. Today we have a beautiful
Look
blend
at
of
this.
mushrooms.
Let's talk about what you have going here.
Here we have some beautiful baby golden chanterelles, which are available about through October through November.
They grow in the
and-
Pacific Northwest.
That's correct. And here we have some fresh shiitake mushrooms and some fresh oyster mushrooms, which are available at most markets.
Now let's talk about what happens if you're not in season and we can't get the fresh mushrooms. Then would you recommend going with just whatever's in the market, or would you go with a dried and rehydrated
Absolutely, you
exotic?
can really use whatever mushrooms you like.
Whatever's in season?
Yeah, whatever's in season. And you know, they do offer some beautiful dried mushrooms at the market
So
also.
you don't have a problem with using dried mushrooms?
Absolutely
Good.
not.
Okay, that's what I
Absolutely
wanted
not.
to know. So here we go.
So here we go. We're gonna start off with the chanterelles because they're a little bit bigger and they take a little longer to cook.
Okay. Okay, how's our fennel juice going back there?
This looks good. We're nice.
Are you trying to make
a
it
nice
a little
slow
more concentrated?
reduce.
Okay. I love the flavors in this. Where do we go from here?
Okay, I think we're ready to add the mushrooms to the custard.
See, now I like it. Now he can let his Boston accent come out a little. We've given him permission.
Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add these beautiful mushrooms right here to that custard. Set that over there. We're gonna add a little bit of chopped fresh thyme,
Okay.
about a tablespoon, and about the same with a little Italian parsley, just for flavor in there. We're gonna mix that all up real nice. Oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of freshly cracked pepper
We don't even have the truffle oil in there yet.
and a little bit of salt. Perfect. Okay, let's mix that up some more.
I love the way chefs add their seasoning with such focus and intensity.
Such finesse. Okay.
Right down there.
Now what we're gonna do from here is I have these already
These ramekins are buttered.
already buttered ramekins,
Okay.
so that the bread pudding doesn't stick. We're just gonna put a little bit of this in the ramekin. One of my favorite things is fresh mushrooms.
Oh yeah, me
You know,
too.
and that's the beautiful thing about this. You really can use any mushrooms that you want, any time of the season.
Okay, so even if we can only find button mushrooms, you still
That's-
have so many flavors happening in here.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter.
That's right. Really. I mean, you have the nice roasted garlic, the fresh herbs, the nice earthy flavor of the mushrooms, the butteriness of the croissant. I mean, there's really a lot going on here.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we're gonna set that aside. And then what we're gonna do is we have a water bath right here. We're gonna set the ramekins in a water bath
Okay.
so that the custard doesn't burn on the bottom and it doesn't get dried out. Whenever you make a custard, you always want to put it in a water bath. So now we have our custard in the water bath. We're gonna put it again in a 300-degree oven
Okay.
for about 40 to 45 minutes.
Okay, good. And then we're going to find out what happens with this
Okay.
mystery fennel juice. We have our bread pudding out of the oven and it looks absolutely perfect.
Oh, doesn't that look beautiful?
I'm tasting this before we say goodbye.
Absolutely. You know, I think we're ready to finish the sauce. Here we have the nice fennel juice reduction. And if you just want to add about 2 tablespoons of butter to this, and I'll whisk it right in.
All right, couple tablespoons. I think this is about 2 tablespoons.
Yeah.
So let's go for it.
Perfect. We'll whisk that in nice and slow, just like that.
Oh, and it's all smoothed back out.
Yes, now it's nice and smooth. It's coming back together. And you know what we're going to do next? We're going to add just a hint of truffle oil.
White truffle.
White truffle oil, which you can find at most specialty supermarkets.
And you'll see there, tartufo bianco.
Tartufo bianco.
Most of it's from Italy, so you.
Has a beautiful, nice, light flavor. It's going to go excellent with the mushrooms. We'll just add a little bit of that into there.
This is almost like dessert.
Okay, Regina, what we're going to do, we're just going to finish this with a little bit of seasoning,
A little pinch of salt.
a little pinch of salt, a little bit of cracked pepper. We're going to get our baby corn going, and then I think we're ready to plate.
I can't wait to see how all these flavors come together. This is divine.
Yes, this is going to be fantastic. You know, the baby corn, too, is very tender and very sweet, and it really needs very little cooking time.
Okay. And I noticed you used just a little drizzle of oil.
Just a little drizzle of oil just to get it going.
Okay.
And, of course, a little bit of salt and white cracked pepper. I like white pepper versus black pepper.
Here we have a rainbow of peppers.
A rainbow of peppers.
Yeah, mixed peppers.
All right, that's nice and warm. I think that's
Is that all it's going to need?
I think that's really all it's going to need because again, it's so fresh and so tender.
Okay, let's get this out of the way. Now what happens? We can bring.
Let's bring the plate over, and I think we're ready to plate. There we go. Let's set that right in the center there. Let's take our bread pudding out.
There we go. It worked. Doesn't it always make you nervous, thinking is it going to fall apart? Especially on TV,
oh, look
right?
at that.
That
Doesn't that look
perfect.
divine? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of the sauce to the corn.
Save some.
Of course. What we want to do from here, just pour a little bit of this around the plate, just like that.
Rick, this is wonderful. Is this your creation?
It certainly is. You know, one thing, you know, it's not only just about the flavors, but it's also about the style of presentation, too.
Right.
We love to present things with a little bit of style. We're going to garnish this dish with red and yellow cherry tomatoes to give it a little color.
This is beautiful.
And then we're just going to put a little bit of frisee lettuce on there for garnish. And then a little bit of fresh chervil, which you can also find at a local supermarket. You know, I love chervil. I think it has a nice, clean flavor to it. And I like to use it on a lot of my dishes.
I can tell this is going to be one of my favorite new dishes.
Voila.
Very good.
Wild mushroom bread pudding,
All right.
white truffle fennel essence, and baby corn.
And now we're up with something cool and refreshing, a chilled melon soup. So let's get going on it.
That's right. Let's bring over the blender, if you
Okay.
don't mind. And then we're going to, we have some fresh watermelon here.
Okay.
Seedless. If you can't find seedless,
They say
You
it's
know what?
seedless, but it always has a little bit of
course it has a little bit
white
of seeds.
in there, but that's okay.
but you know what? I won't tell. So let's get the blender on there.
Okay.
We're going to put our watermelon in. You know, the nice thing about this soup is it's refreshing, but it's really quick too.
So a little cantaloupe with it, about half the amount
That's
of cantaloupe,
right.
and let's
That's right.
start. Tell me how you'd like it.
And then we're going to put a little bit of sparkling water just in the top. Just to give it a nice little zing to it.
And would you like me to puree at a little higher speed?
No, that's fine. We're gonna add just a little sweet chili paste next.
Give it a little kick.
About a teaspoon, not too much. But you know what? If you like it spicy, add a little bit more.
And what's
There we
next?
go. I think
That's
we're
it.
good. That's it. Very, very simple. Okay, Regina, now what we're gonna do is we have this beautiful strainer here. We're gonna strain the soup into an already chilled ice bath.
All right.
Okay? And so that
Can
we
you go
can
ahead and pour it?
so that we can chill this soup pretty quickly here. Perfect. I'll take that from you and
Okay.
just pass that through a little bit.
It smells refreshing already.
It really is.
And the chili paste gives just a little kick to it.
So I'm gonna set this off to the side while this is chilling. Let that just sit and chill. And what we're gonna do next is we have some fresh diced vegetables here
Okay.
that we're gonna garnish the soup with. We have a little bit of diced cucumber, a little bit of diced yellow tomato, a little bit of diced zucchini, a little bit of diced red pepper.
And you have many little kitchen helpers to make such perfect
Yes,
little...
yes we do. Yes. And a little bit of fresh golden pineapple,
Oh, yeah,
which is gonna go really well with this soup. And we're just gonna toss that around a little bit, make a little relish. Very colorful, very flavorful. Regina, here's a little fresh mint that we're gonna add to the relish. I like to just rip the mint a little bit, not chop it so that it doesn't bruise. So we're just gonna, like so, just keep it as fresh as possible. Oh, doesn't that look good?
And I bet this is going to be beautiful because I see a little mold over there. Are you going to use that?
Oh, you know, of course, you know, presentation is everything. Of course, we're gonna add just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. I believe it's important that you season everything. It just brings out a little bit more, that little extra flavor.
I agree. And you have...
Perfect. Okay, Regina, I think we're ready to plate. Here we go.
I love this part, but I know it
Presentation.
always makes the chef so nervous. You never know what's going to happen with these molds.
Here we go, we're just gonna mold that like that.
Need to pat it down a little, or...
Yep, let's pat it down there so that it holds up. And this is a nice little simple dish that you can do for your family or friends.
Beautiful.
Look at that.
There we go, it held.
Okay.
Okay, and now we have our...
Okay, Regina, now the vegetables are molded, the soup is chilled, and the way that we like to serve it in the restaurant is tableside in a little teapot, like so.
Oh, that's nice. What a nice presentation. While we were finishing this up, we're going to go to David Berkeley and find out which wine he would pair with our mushroom bread pudding today.
Wild mushroom bread pudding. Regina, my take on wild mushrooms is that they can be happy in the company of almost any wine, red or white, and in the process, they're going to make that wine taste even more delicious than it normally is. So I suppose that if we have to make a selection very specific to this dish, maybe we look past the wild mushrooms to the bread pudding and the custard that's part of it. Now, while I think of bread pudding as being sort of a comfort food, the irony is that I sort of like wines that have an angular edge to their character. I'm going to say that we should look to wines from the south of Burgundy in France. The wines made from Chardonnay there oftentimes have that little edge to their character. Wines that have names like Macon, Macon Village, Saint-Véran, Pouilly-Fuissé. These are wines that have that sort of distinctive Chardonnay flavor with that little edge of minerality. Now, it may be only my opinion, but it seems to me that these wines oftentimes have flavors and qualities equal to their more illustrious northern neighbors, people like Meursault, Chassagne-Montrachet, Puligny-Montrachet, and they do so oftentimes at 1/4 of the price. I love them for their anise flavors, I love them for their minerality, and I think they'd be perfect with this mushroom bread pudding.
And I want to thank you, Rick, because I think that your bread pudding has become an instant favorite with the entire crew here, and we'll trot it out for our special occasions in the future.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really been a pleasure.
Until next time, santé.
Good food, good friends.
To find out more about Regina's Vegetarian Table, visit our PBS online website at pbs.org.